Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive world that operates right under our noses, yet honestly, it feels like pure invisible magic. Picture a brightly lit, high-stakes relay race, but instead of runners on a typical track, this race spans across vast oceans, entire continents, and sprawling cinematic ports. We're going to decode the incredible, high-speed relay race of global logistics.
You know, think about it for a second. How does that brand new smartphone, or even the shoes you're wearing right now, actually get from a manufacturing plant halfway across the world straight to your front door? We so often imagine just one giant corporate entity handling the whole thing from start to finish. But, as we'll see today, that couldn't be further from the truth. It's actually a massive, perfectly choreographed sequence of handoffs.
To make sense of this beautifully complex system, we've broken it down into 5 quick stages. First, the global relay race. Second, packing in transit. Third, the master orchestrators. Fourth, crossing the ocean. And finally, customs and delivery.
All right, let's jump right into stage 1, the global relay race. This is the starting line of international trade.
Did you know that almost 90% of all international trade happens by sea? 90%? Planning, moving, and tracking the sheer volume of containers passing through that maritime trade chain is an absolutely Herculean task. Because manufacturers generally just want to focus on what they do best, which is making things, they outsource almost the entire supply chain and logistics operation to third-party intermediaries. And pulling that off requires a massive ensemble cast. Honestly, it's like casting a blockbuster movie. You've got the shipper or manufacturer kicking things off as the starting runner. Then specialized transporters and contractors handle the inland legs. Brokers and forwarders step in as the coaches, strategizing the route. Carriers and agents sprint across the ocean until finally, the importer receives the baton right at the finish line. Which brings us to stage 2, packing and inland transit. This is where the physical baton gets handed off for the very first time. Okay, so before anything actually moves, it has to be packed. In global trade, this is called stuffing. Stuffing simply means loading goods into a container for export. And yeah, unloading it is literally called destuffing. This critical step is often outsourced to a highly specialized stuffing contractor. They're the experts who choose the exact right equipment, maximize every single square inch of cargo capacity, and ensure that fragile, bulk, or standard shipments are loaded safely. They really set the stage for a smooth journey. Once stuffed, that container needs to get to the ocean. Enter the inland transporters. Now, each one handles a very specific leg of the relay. A road transporter, for example, might move the cargo from the factory to an inland terminal. From there, a rail operator, like Concor, might haul the container directly to a major seaport. Or, if you're starting in a much smaller port, a barge or feeder operator will carry the cargo over water to a massive gateway transshipment hub. Moving right along to stage 3, the master orchestrators, coordinating the chaos. These are the brilliant minds strategizing the routes, often without ever touching a single physical box. There's a really vital distinction here between two roles that get confused all the time: the freight forwarder and the freight broker. A freight forwarder is basically the ultimate travel agent for cargo. They investigate routes, negotiate costs, arrange packing, and actually take possession of the items to consolidate shipments. A freight broker, on the other hand, is purely a matchmaker. They connect a shipper who has goods with an authorized carrier who has space, earning a commission, but they never take physical possession of the items themselves. To achieve ultimate spatial and financial efficiency, consolidators play what is essentially a giant game of cargo Tetris. They mix and match full container loads, or FCL, and less than container loads, LCL. If it's one exporter to one importer, well, that's a simple FCL to FCL journey. But imagine Walmart buying from 4 different suppliers in 4 different cities. Consolidators gather all those smaller LCL shipments, stuff them into one single FCL container, and ship it out. It is an absolute masterclass in efficiency. But hey, sometimes you just want one person to take the blame or the credit for the whole shebang. That's the multimodal transport operator, or MTO. Under a single contract, they take legal liability for the entire multimode journey: rail, sea, and road. They don't even have to own the trains or ships. They just use subcarriers. And to ensure they're legitimate, regulations require them to have a minimum capital of 50 lakhs rupees and offices in at least 2 countries. They act as the ultimate safety net for the shipper.
All right, stage 4, crossing the ocean, the longest sprint of the relay.
Here we meet a truly fascinating player, the NVOCC, or Non-Vessel Operating Common Carrier. Think of them as a virtual carrier. An NVOCC acts completely like a shipping line on paper. They issue their own transport documents, like a house bill of lading, and they accept all the legal liabilities of a carrier. The catch? They literally don't own any ships. They consolidate cargo and buy space on other people's vessels, acting as a carrier to the shipper and a shipper to the actual carrier. Pretty clever, right?
So wait, who actually provides the physical ship? Well, believe it or not, that's divided up too. The ship owner is the entity or investment fund that actually equips and owns the commercial vessel. But they might rent it out to a charterer, who pays a freight rate to use the ship for a specific voyage or a set time period. And then you have the ship operator, the one who practically handles the day-to-day cargo aspects for a particular trade route. It's a highly specialized division of labor designed to maximize profit at every single level.
But a massive cargo ship can't exactly just pull up to a dock unannounced. They rely on carrier agents or ship agents. These folks are the ultimate local port fixers. They're on the ground arranging the pilot and tugboats, clearing the crew with local immigration, managing fuel logistics, and coordinating with the stevedores who actually operate the massive cranes to safely handle the containers. They ensure the port is perfectly prepped so the ship can hand off its baton without losing a single second.
And that brings us to stage 5, customs and final delivery. The final hurdle. 500. For every single shipment entering the United States, there are 500 pages of customs regulations to consider. And that's not even mentioning the thousands of tariff items and quotas. Navigating this is definitely not for the faint of heart. Because of that sheer, mind-boggling complexity, importing without a customs broker is basically impossible. These are licensed professionals, licensed by entities like the U.S. Department of the Treasury or the Customs Department in India. They are the highly trained hurdlers of our relay race. They prepare and file all the necessary entries, expertly calculate the correct tariffs and exchange rates, and take all the required steps to actually pry the goods out of customs custody. And watching over all of this, providing the cinematic stadium lights and camera angles for the entire race, are the Logistics Solution Providers, or LSPs. They deliver the customized IT solutions that give shippers 100% visibility in tracking their shipments. They manage the purchase orders, the vendors, and the warehouses, ensuring this intensely complex matrix of variables never breaks down.
And finally, at long last, the baton reaches the finish line. The importer, also known as the consignee or buyer. This is the merchant who actually receives the goods for the payment made. They are the direct beneficiary, the name on the transport document, and the final stop in this incredible global journey. So the next time you order a smartphone, a pair of shoes, or even just a bag of coffee beans, think about this vast, brightly lit stadium of international trade. From stuffing contractors to virtual carriers, from ship operators to customs brokers, with so many moving parts and highly specialized players passing the baton across oceans and continents, isn't it an absolute miracle that global trade works as smoothly as it does? Keep that invisible magic in mind, and thanks for joining me for this explainer.